welcome to the Wine Glass, and today we're going to be talking about the bug that destroyed the wine regions in the 1880s, Phylloxera. Phylloxera was a bug that was very native to the United States, and this all happened back in the early 1800s and where steamboats started being used for transportation and trade. So a lot of Europeans were bringing in their vines to America to try and plant them there. However, they kept drying out and dying, but they weren't really sure why. So a lot of people just kind of grabbed their plants, went back to Europe and planted it there because they knew it would survive there. But what they didn't know is that at the roots, there was Phylloxera. The way Phylloxera would kill these plants was that it would stick to the bottom of their roots and kind of suck out their water and their sap and dry them out. But the problem as well was that in order to try and kill the bug, the roots would start to grow around it and kind of shut themselves off, but by doing that they would also shut off their water source. So it also helped to completely dry out these plants. But Planchon was the first person to actually just take out a healthy plant to look at it. So he had suggested to take out a healthy plant to investigate to see what's going on, because they noticed that by the time the plants were dried, there was nothing left at the bottom because the bugs would move on to the next plant. And everybody thought he was crazy. Why would we pull out a fresh, healthy plant? Well, he did so, and when he investigated, he found the Phylloxera. Now, everybody started kind of noticing they would either flood their vineyards so that all the bugs would get washed away. However, you would also kind of drown your plants. Or they could spray with like a sulfur combination, but the problem was that only the wealthy of the winemakers could afford that sulfur sulfite combination in order to try and get rid of the Phylloxera. So a lot of the vineyards actually just had to pull out everything and start from scratch. And that's where AXR came into play. So AXR was a hybrid and rootstock, so it was a combination of European and American. Now for the American rootstock, you had Astyphilus, you had Riparia, you had Rupestris or Rolandieri, and then for European you only had Vinifera. So Vinifera was extremely susceptible to the Phylloxera. However, all of the American rootstock had grown resilient to it since they were always around the Phylloxera and they kind of found their way around it. So in wine regions everywhere, they started kind of just pulling out their plants and planting in this AXR. Now, in the 1990s, Napa, Sonoma, kind of like California area, decided to try and plant AXR #1, which was a hybrid between European and American rootstock. However, because it was a hybrid between the two, the Phylloxera came back. Now, it did happen in Europe as well, but they noticed very quickly that there was an issue by using a hybrid between the two, that the Phylloxera would come back. So they started just grafting. And grafting is where they would get the budwood, which is the part that actually fruits from the European vines, and then they would basically cut it, plug it together, and dip it in wax to the American rootstock, which they knew was resilient to Phylloxera. By doing so, you got the wonderful fruits that came from the European vines, but you got the resilience to this Phylloxera from the American vines. However, in California, they did not do that yet. They started with just that hybrid. So when the Phylloxera came back, it actually caused about 1 to 2 billion, and I mean billion with a B, big money billion, caused $1 to $2 billion worth of damage. So all of those plants, all of the vines, everything had to be uprooted and changed. So now what they do is they use solely American rootstock. So that means that no matter what, the rootstock will always be 100% resilient to Phylloxera. Now, there is still no 100% way to completely clear your plants of Phylloxera unless you do the grafting. Now, there are only 2 places that Phylloxera actually did not destroy the vineyards for, and that is Chile and Washington State. And the reason for that is because of the soil. The soil that they have in those two regions is sandy, and Phylloxera does not like sandy soil. So that was the way Washington State and Chile was able to combat the Phylloxera wave that was going through all of these vineyards, and it hit everywhere. Anywhere that there was plants, it kind of just traveled around, and then everybody had to have their roots completely changed. So this rose here is for all the vines that we lost in Europe, in America, Australia, all the countries where Phylloxera hit and where they had to completely uproot everything. And thankfully, we have developed a new method that can help out and kind of bring our grapes back to life. So thank you to grafting and Phylloxera, you suck. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Remember to drink responsibly. I'll see you on the next video. Happy drinking.